Welcome to B-Flow Sessions, the podcast where we help you find and stay in the flow on the water and in life. I'm your host, Brad Burden. Join me as I sit down with paddlers, athletes, and adventurers who are all seeking the flow. B-Flow Sessions is brought to you by our friends at Pucon Kayak Retreat. Are you dreaming of a Chilean whitewater escape this winter? Picture turquoise rapids, warm sunny days, and world-class rivers for every skill level, all based out of a riverside retreat built by paddlers for paddlers. If that sounds like your kind of winter, then Pecan Kayak Retreat is the place. To learn more or to book your dream kayak trip, reach out to me directly at bflowkayak@gmail.com and I'll help you get connected. B-Flow Sessions is powered by Dagger Kayaks. Wherever there's water, Dagger Kayaks will help you find your flow. Team-tested, paddler-proven designs for all paddlers and all water. And thanks to our partners at Sawyer Paddles, Stolquist PFDs, and Level 6 Gear for keeping us in the flow. Thanks for tuning in to the next episode of B-Flow Sessions. And today I am joined by somebody I'm really stoked to talk to. We reconnected this spring in the Paddle South Tour, kind of an old friend of mine and one of the best play boaters, one of the best kayakers ever in the history of the sport. Steven Wright, welcome to B-Flow Sessions, Steven.
Hey, thanks, Brad. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks again for having. So Steven got to start in the Potomac region paddling, and we actually started paddling the exact same year in 1997. And then he emerged by 2004, was on the freestyle tour, multiple-time U.S. team member, won the U.S. national championships 6 times, bronze medal in the world championships in freestyle, and a gold medalist in squirt boating. And now still one of the best freestyle paddlers out there. But now is also known for the creations that he makes out of carbon with Dreamboat Kayaks, making those Jackson boats into carbon. And there's some of the most beautiful designs and beautiful looking boats out on the water. And we're going to hear all about that. But again, welcome once again, Steven Wright.
What an intro. Thanks. It's great to be here. So good. I love it.
So, Steven, tell us, how did you find your flow in kayaking? How did it all start?
It all started right out of high school. A couple of my high school buddies knew how to kayak on the Potomac, which is it has a huge paddling scene there, one of the largest paddling communities in the world. And these are some friends of mine that I had taught how to rock climb and done other outdoors things with. And one of them basically worked at this outdoor gear shop. And he's like, hey, we're having a deal with a big sale coming up this weekend. You know, you taught me how to rock climb. If you buy a boat, and this thing's dirt cheap, boat and gear, I'll teach you how to paddle. And I was like, oh, sweet, sounds great. So I'd never tried it, but I'd seen the paddlers like below me in the river while I was rock climbing, and it just looked fun. And so I went ahead and bought a $300 Hydra Dragonfly 2, which was, in retrospect, an absolutely terrible kayak. And I bought one of those metal paddles that was dirt cheap, and a spray skirt, and my little Protec helmet. And I bought all this stuff having never tried it. And then the water came way up, and so we weren't able to actually go out and paddle for, I don't know, a couple of months. But then the first day that he took me out was literally the most fun thing I had ever done in my life. Like, day one was mind-blowingly epic. And I had already done a lot of other outdoor sports, between rock climbing and backpacking and snowboarding and, going into caves, like you name it. I love the outdoors, but kayaking was just immediately, literally like a duck to water for me. It was just mind blowing. I remember paddling out into the waves, like right below the Maryland chute, and they're every bit of maybe 10 inches tall. Like, the waves train is not very big, but it was so mind blowing for me that I just couldn't believe that this much power and fun was like right in my backyard, and I had never experienced it before. I was like, oh my gosh, like, why doesn't everyone do this? This is so incredible. Like, I'm paddling down this huge, massive river, and it was tiny, and I was like, in no danger, but my brain was just exploding with this is like the greatest thing ever. And then it just kind of kayaking just slowly took over and ruined my life after that.
Yeah, I can relate to that, and that's what was so weird about me just stepping away from the sport, and I had to quit it cold turkey, because it's so important and just overtook everything. But it's nice to have it back in my life now. Um, so from there, I mean, you kind of focus locally there. I mean that Potomac scene. I mean, so many of the best paddlers in the world, both slalom and freestyle. I mean, I think of like Jimmy Blakeney and Brian Kirk, and of course, the list of the slalom guys. I mean, there's literally Olympic gold medalists who have came out of there. Did you paddle with any of those guys, or like
Yeah,
early on? I mean, obviously later on, but
yeah, a few of them. Brian Kirk he was at Virginia Tech at the time, so I saw him occasionally.
okay,
EJ still had a kayak school there for the first year or two,
okay,
so I saw him. Um, at the time, it was more my crew early on were guys like David McIntosh and Bobby Miller,
yeah,
and a number of other fun sort of people from that zone. Jimmy had
yeah,
moved on; he was mostly West Virginia by the time I was there. But I remember, I remember early on, sometime in my first year, when all I could do was occasionally catch the Maryland shoot wave, and then and I remember going out and I couldn't even spin yet. And at that point, I probably switched down to a whippet because that Hydra Dragonfly only lasted me 4 days. And I was like, I need a shorter boat. So I went out and bought a whippet, which everyone told me was way too advanced for me. And I was sure to die in it. But it was great.
mm-mm.
And I remember going out. He happened to show up to the Maryland shoot with some of his friends. And I didn't know him. He'd never met me, but I went out and did like an ender, and it was probably half intentional. But I remember EJ came up and like gave me a big smile and a high five and said, "Hey man, that was awesome." And I remember just being so stoked because this guy was like the Michael Jordan of kayaking, who was like basically giving me a high five for completing for like dribbling across the court, like total beginner. And I was like, man, this sport is so cool when the best people in the world are like the most encouraging to beginners. Like, when else are you going to get? It's not like you're going to go play basketball with Michael Jordan and he's going to high five you. And so that really just kind of set the tone for me for years to come as to what leaders in this sport should be. They should be
Mm.
positive and encouraging to everybody. And EJ's always really just sort of personified that. But it was huge
Yeah,
for
I
me.
say that all the
That was
time.
such a big deal.
Yeah, I mean he same way. Like I was always paddling dagger kayaks and him either wave sport or then Jackson, and it's like you want a peanut butter and jelly out of the RV, you need to crash on the floor, you need to come to the house. Like it just doesn't matter, right? And again, like literally the goat, and then his offspring becomes the goat, and just the nicest, most humblest people. But it's not just them; it's literally everybody in the sport. It's
Mm,
unbelievable.
yeah, I love.
Let's eddy out and take a quick break. Do you need a break from the cold of a North American winter? Then let's head south to the best whitewater on earth at Pucon Kayak Retreat. Email me at bflowkayak@gmail.com to learn more about how you can take the ultimate paddling adventure in the heart of Chile. Now let's peel out and head downstream.
That.
For sure. So then by the early 2000s, you're kind of starting to get out on the freestyle tour and, really emerged right away as one of the top competitors within a couple years. Talk about that.
Yeah, I really love playboating. It was fun. It was good exercise. It got me around fun people. And it was really about learning new skills for me. And I like that because that's something that always motivates me is just learning new stuff. And so with playboating, there was just always a new thing to learn. And so it was fun starting to go to a number of competitions. And I mean, it's always fun to do well, but it was equally fun just to go have an excuse to paddle in a lot of places that I wouldn't have gone otherwise.
Hmm.
Like out to the West Coast and paddle in Reno, and then, you know, all over Colorado and um, all over the place, Idaho and eventually Ottawa and everywhere, in addition to this, the Southeast. And it was fun. And I was very fortunate pretty early on, like starting 2004. EJ kind of just adopted me with Christine, and they let I joined the team during the summer, which was the first year of Jackson Kayak. And I remember trying the boat up on the Ottawa. We were both teaching for Ottawa Kayak School, and throughout the summer I paddled with EJ some, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing after this?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really know yet. I'm probably going to the Gully for a month or two, and then I'm not sure." And he's like, "Well, after that, you should come live in my RV in my driveway, and you can work at the Jackson Kayak plant and paddle with me every day." And I was like, "Okay, this sounds like a dream come true." So so I did that, and then Clay was there. He lives just down the road, and at the time, Dane and Emily they were teenagers, but there were always people coming and going, and so real early on, I was able to just paddle with EJ a lot, and with Clay and with other people, all trying to get good at competing and play boating. And when you've got a crew like that is all focused on just trying to get better and have fun together, you get better fast. And
Yeah,
it was an epic opportunity for me, and I learned quickly and I worked hard, and it was it was really fun. Like, it was fun going to the competitions and fun doing well. But even when I didn't do well, it was just sort of a dream come true. And then EJ just kept giving me opportunities to help out. Like, I built boats at the plant for a little while, part time. And then when we were working on boats, I got to give some input, and help do product photography, and eventually kind of help out with some video work and marketing. And so it just became sort of integrated into who I was, and I just loved being there, and it was really fun, and it's still really fun. Like, it's still what I want to do every day when I can.
sure. Um, I want to shift gears now and talk about some maybe epic tales. So we call this section "Perfect Flow." I want you to think about a time when and when we kayak, there's very few times when it's not pretty darn good. But I want you to think about one of those just epically amazing days that sticks out, a perfect flow day.
I've got two for you.
All
One
right.
would be, I was in Colorado during a real high snowpack year, and a big crew of us with a lot of my friends were in Glenwood Springs for a freestyle competition. But the competition's not all the time, and we were there for a while, so we got to go just run. We put in below upper death because it was like 20,000 CFS in Glenwood town, so it's a lot of water for that river.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that. We did basically lower death. We might have gone all the way to the town, but that involves barrel springs. um, and I think there were nine of us, including Andrew Holcomb and Jeremy Laux and Clay and probably Nick, and a lot of fun people. And I remember paddling out, just making the ferry out into the current from below upper death. And it was just, the water wave size was so big. It was like, just
Mm.
like surrounded with mountains of water. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember Andrew paddled out in front of me. He was the first one out of the eddy, and he paddles out into the wave train. And there's nothing that's going to destroy us within sight. Like, it's not like we're dodging huge holes, or making
Right.
big moves, but he paddles out to the wave train and floats the first couple waves, and he just looks back at us with this like giant smile and the biggest eyes in the world. He's like, "Oh my gosh!" And I get out there, and it's like, it feels like I'm just dancing with giants. And all day,
Oh.
it was just so much fun to be in that much power with that many people. I remember we all scouted Barrel Springs, which is a huge wave train rapid with some big holes to dodge at that level, and like also we're trying to dodge, like the river's up into the river walk with like a giant guardrail. So we're trying to dodge like the guardrail and then these holes. And
Mm.
we paddled it basically Blue Angel back to back. Someone got video from the top. And I remember we paddled in, and then I don't know if I ever saw anybody else, because when the waves are that big, you can't see over them until you're at the
Right.
peak. And like
Yeah.
I was just so focused on what I was doing that, when you looked at the video, we get to the bottom and I had managed to somehow pass two people without ever seeing them. Um,
Mm.
and I remember just all day it was just constant giggles and stoke, and nothing more than like making you feel small and insignificant and just
Mm.
experience the raw power of that much water moving that fast was so fun. And then another time would be, um, I've had so many experiences squirt boating where you talk about flow and kind of the flow state where your brain just becomes sort of singularly focused and everything else melts away. And it's just sort of like the it's a state that many people chase. And in squirt boating, we're taking these tiny kayaks and flying around underwater. And whenever
Mm-hmm.
that's happening, it really does lock out any other thoughts and feelings because you're
Mm.
down, and so you're feeling this kind of fear because your body and brain is not meant to survive without breathing, and there's all this pressure, and you can like
Right.
move around three-dimensionally in a way that you can't when you're just on dry land. Like you can't move up and down, you're stuck to the ground
Sure.
most of the time, right? But when a squirt boat, I
Right.
can go down, I can go up, I can go front to back, I can do whatever I want. And so I remember times when, like, between sometimes here in Columbus with a spot that I found where I've been able to get 23 feet deep in my squirt boat,
Mm.
um, like with a dive watch. It's like I can be in the eddy with other people and I go underwater, and you're just fighting this like primal sense of panic while having the time of my life.
Mm.
And it's like you're trying to stay calm as it goes deeper and deeper, and the pressure builds, and it goes from like light to dark to pitch black, and you're just like fighting this battle to stay down because this is what it's all about. Like you get there to this really deep zone, and it's like, just chill, man, just chill. Like this is what you wanted. Like this is it. Like no one's been
Mm.
here before. Like you're doing something really fun, but most of your brain is like, get out of here, go, 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 get up. This is terrible. I hate this.
Right.
And then you fight the battle for a few seconds and then come up, and all told it's underwater for, I don't know, 30 seconds or whatever. But
Wow.
I remember popping back up, and you look around and nobody else has any idea what happened. It was like I just had the like experience of a lifetime fighting this like this dragon 20 feet underwater basically, which is my own fear.
Right.
And I pop up and everyone's just smiling, getting ready to like dip back in, and get their own rides. And another one with that was like the first time I went in West Virginia squirt boating to Fascination Alley, which is where Jim Snyder lives, like the father of the
Mm.
sport.
Sure.
It happened to be really clear water, and you kind of drop in behind this boulder, um, and with really clear water, the water pouring off of the boulder once you're underwater, actually you can see a waterfall of bubbles going down.
Oh, cool.
And then you can see these whirlpools on the eddy line behind the boulder that come down. They look like little tornadoes coming down all around
Yeah.
you. And also like a wall of bubbles on the eddy line itself. And so I remember spinning around, and I'd look around and it'd be totally clear. I could see boulders under me. And eventually I learned that when it's totally clear, it means I'm not on the eddy line anymore. There's no bubbles. And so the boat's slowly coming up. So then I like look around and I see this wall of bubbles, and I kind of like, push myself, like swim back towards it. And I can see this wall of bubbles coming at me. And when I hit it, I can feel the turbulence and I feel the boat get pulled back down again. And then,
Wow.
and I was able to do these just 30, I don't know, 20, 30-second rides where it was just, and then eventually I could see the boulder at the top of the eddy while I'm underwater. And I can see this waterfall pulling off of it. And I could swim the boat into that and go down. And it was like this first time when I ever experienced sort of seeing and feeling all these things underwater at the same time. And it was just this amazing, it's just this amazing dance with the currents that you don't get to feel anywhere else in life. And it's just awesome, man. I just love it.
Man, the way you paint that picture, and I've only been in a squirt boat one time, and it was on dry land, and I've never had any intention to, because being underwater like that, like you talked about, that fright and fighting that dragon is never. Anytime I'm underwater, I'm like, I want to get back to breathing. I like being on top of the water. I like going with the water. I like bouncing on the water. I like going over water, but I don't like being under it. But the way you describe that, it just makes it seem like this, like poetry and music and dance and beauty all
Oh,
in the same time. That was just so eloquent the way you described that.
thanks. It is so fun. You got to try it. And I think, honestly, I think doing mystery moves has made me so much more confident actually going downriver, like creek boating,
Sure.
or paddle, just river running, because the squirt boat's underwater all the time, and so every tiny little current grabs it and pushes it, and it
Hmm.
makes it real easy to see currents that you just never notice in when you're not paddling a squirt boat. And so in terms of just the balance that gets developed in the river running, when I get back into a half slice or a creek boat, all of a sudden it's just like, this is nothing. Like this floats over everything, but it just gives me an understanding as to what the currents are doing and a way to balance and stay upright that's really hard to learn in any other kind of boat.
That's really cool. Well, the opposite of perfect flow I call flood, and this is not like, the story you told me with Glenwood Springs flooding where everything was good. We're talking about when I say flood here, like a time when things did not go well, maybe out of control. Obviously, you're still here to talk about it, so and we don't want to go into those like really dark stories. Unfortunately, some of us have lost friends and things like that, but just maybe one of those near misses, epic crashes, epic fails, but ended up being a good story around the campfire that night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty cautious about what I do. I mean, I've run a lot of hard class five, like in California, but I'm pretty, I try not to push it all that much, though I've had a handful of sort of near misses. I remember once I was on the Palguin in Chile,
Mm,
and there was some little rapid kind of after the normal or near the normal takeoff for the upper Palguin that was almost a nothing rapid, but there just happened to be a log in it. And the group that I was paddling with did a good job of explaining that the log was there. You could kind of see it from above, but it was just this little nothing slot. Um, and I definitely like the move was to come out of the slot and then get right of the log. And I tried to, because we didn't scout it, because it was just like a class three nothing, I tried to cheat right early and got deflected back left and like put the whole bow under the log in pretty heavy
mm,
current. And the log was like downstream facing, angled down. So I was just kind of slowly getting pushed down it. And I remember like, I chalked in and I was with a guy. I was with Clay. I was with a Galen Volkhausen, who's really solid paddler. That was a keener. Like I had taught him swiftwater rescue, and I'm glad I did. And I was with Clay, and Clay eddied out well downstream. He was like out in front, but Casey managed to eddy out. He was behind me, like right next to me. And Galen saw me go into the logs, so he started. And luckily, my head's up. Like I'm the boat's slowly kind of getting pushed down the log, and I've got my hands on it, and I could feel some pressure on my knees from like where the log's pushing it on the boat. And I'm like doing
Mm,
a just continual push up to stay upright. And in retrospect, I don't think there were any branches under there. Like, there is a chance that I might have just gone right under the thing and popped out the back. But man, I never want to roll the dice like that. So I
mm-mm,
was like pushing as hard as I could to like stay, you know, on the surface. And
mm-hmm.
Casey did Galen jumped out, started running back upstream towards me immediately. Casey eddied out. He's like, "What do you need?" And I was like, "I think you're gonna have to clip the back of my boat and with a rope, like pull me back upstream and out that way. Um, and I'm stuck in here right now." And so
Mm,
luckily Galen was able to throw him a rope almost right away. He was able to clip me. They pulled me out, and then like they swung me out into heavy current, and I ended up, kind of surfing upside down while being dragged because I was clipped to this rope, and I ended up swimming. It's probably the last time I swam for real, and the swim wasn't bad, and I don't really regret it. Like, it was, I tried to roll and it just wasn't working because I was just kind of like dangling from the current. But I remember after that, and it wasn't even that traumatizing. It was just one of those quick reminders that things can go wrong really fast.
yeah.
And that, you know, what keeps us safe is that we're paddling, like the people we paddle with, and their attention and desire to help keep us safe makes
Mm,
what we do okay. Like, we live or die as a group, and like, it was a perfect circle moment for me when like a kid that I had taught to throw a throw rope saved me with a throw rope. you know
yeah.
and it's just one of those reminders that whitewater is relentless, and there's a lot of power, and that we really really just always need to be heads up, keeping an eye out for each other.
Yeah, I always tell people it's by far the most powerful force in nature. I mean, just look at a flood or look at your basement if you get a crack in it. I mean, water always wins. I don't care if it's fire, land, wind, whatever your force of nature, man,
Yeah,
water
without a doubt.
is the top of the food chain when it comes to elements, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without
Yeah.
a doubt.
Uh, Now I want to shift into the current. Yep, pun intended. And I want to talk about three things that you have going on in your life right now. I don't know the first two where I would rank in order of importance, but I know the third one I'm going to mention is probably the most important. But I want you to talk about your endeavor with Dreamboat Kayaks and talk to us all about that and the teaching that you do at Keeners. And then also, this is the one that's probably, no, it's not probably, it definitely is the most important. And you're a new father. So, congratulations on that. I got to meet your baby this spring and your wife. And so, whatever order of events you want to go into and anything else you want to talk about that is current in your life now.
No, it sounds great. I'll talk about the baby first. Her name's Beatrix. She's 6 months old, and uh, we the process was like we decided we wanted to have a kid, and then like about 6 months later we were pregnant, and then we had the baby end of October, and you know it's, as anyone who has kids knows, that you just can't really describe what's going on. Like, it's just such a relentless uh, need of attention, and it's tiring and it's exhausting, but it's so rewarding. Uh, there's so many things that like you kind of read about a little bit or hear from someone else. You're like, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be that much. Like, I don't know what you're complaining about. And then you get into it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh! Like, at first, this baby, you know, needs to be fed every 2 hours, literally 24 hours a day. And it's like crying a lot of the rest of the time when she's not asleep. Um, and you like, I don't know if anyone ever really told me that they don't they can't smile or give you any positive reinforcement for a full 2 months. So it's like I described it to my friends as like, imagine buying a puppy that can only growl and bark at you and howl for 2 months straight, like never wags its tail once, never acts like it's happy to see you once for 2 whole months, and you've got to like give up all of your sleep for 2 months straight. Um, I mean, it's like without a doubt the hardest 2 months of my life. That first 2 months was so rough. But even then, like while I was saying, man, this is like the worst 2 months I've ever had, I knew, and I was never like, I wish I had not done this. I knew
Sure.
that this was going to be the most rewarding thing that I'd ever done. And I knew that Rachel and I both, love the baby, and we were going to get through this hard part, and then eventually we were going to be able to sleep a little more. And then she didn't sleep that much for the first. She's still not sleeping that well. It's rough, but
Oh.
um, she like now we get a lot of positive feedback, and it's so fun because she like looks at us and smiles. She makes happy noises. She tries to roll towards us. She's like trying to crawl. Like she's a really happy little super high energy gremlin of a child. And so the rewarding, like the hard is still hard. We're still not sleeping that much. We're still, it's still a lot. It'll stay that way, but the like fun, like the rewarding part is like so much higher now that it's wild. It's going to be fun. We're hitting the road, and we're going to be moving back into the RV for I don't know, 5 months or whatever, starting next weekend. So it'll be fun taking her on the road and
Yeah.
um, paddling around with her, showing her what life is like in other places. And it's going to be a great adventure that's going to last for the rest of my life. So that's a big one and really
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but that dog that just growls at you all the time, um, you're gonna go through this period of life with her, and you're gonna be like, this is the most beautiful little dog I've ever, and all I get is whale tail wagging and snuggles, and then right about 12 to 13 years old, it's a full grown dog who growls at you, and you don't get any of that positive feedback again, and that's going to last for about another 3 to 4 years. I have a 16-year-old,
Perfect.
so
Okay. So you know exactly what I'm
oh yeah.
describing.
So enjoy the diaper changes and the midnight feedings while you can, because
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll get easier, and then it gets way harder once again,
I
and
bet.
for all
And I
different
mean,
reasons.
I'm super lucky because Rachel does so much work that it's much easier for me. Like she's the best mom ever already.
Yeah.
Um, but
But like you said, incredibly rewarding no matter what, no matter the
yeah, without a
difficulties, it's
doubt, and it's
still,
gonna be fun. Like just
yeah,
showing her the world that we live in and all of the fun that we have,
that's awesome.
which would be great. Let me think. Other things. Uh, so with Dreamboats, this is my third year. We build carbon fiber kayaks. Right now I'm doing rock stars, antixes, and clutch. I've got a mold for. And this has been uh, like the second most challenging thing I've ever done. um, just like learning how to do this. There's just so many things that can go wrong every time I build a boat. And I have done all of them. And it's a lot of work, and it's ultimately really rewarding when the boats come out and they're awesome and people go and have fun with them. But for me, I'm taking money from my friends, and so if I don't provide them with something epic, I would feel just
Right.
so terrible. And so there's a lot of sort of responsibility and stress built into it. But it's another one where it's fun just to like solve problems. There's a lot of just solving problems. It's like trying to
Hmm.
figure out easy solutions to really weird problems. Like physically, how do you reach into spaces? Like how can you build something so it doesn't become permanently stuck in the mold? Like what process will allow everything to happen. Like things as simple as like our boats are built in one piece all the way through the cockpit rim. Like that's built into it from the beginning.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
but figuring out things like how do you do that without the boat getting just mechanically locked into the mold? Um, like that is something you don't really think about. And I was lucky in that Murky Waters figured
Mm,
that out and taught me how to do it. And he taught me how to do
mm,
almost everything I'm doing. But like every step of the way has those kinds of weird problems to try to work through. Like how do you airtight seal everything up in ways they don't want to seal up, and like how do you like all that stuff, like how hot do you get the epoxy before you infuse with it, how hot do you want the mold, like what materials are gonna kind of give the best properties for what you want the boat to do. Like do I want it to be a little heavier or do I want it to last a little longer, like all those, and like just physically how to tape and paint different kinds of graphics and all that stuff takes it takes a lot of time to figure all that stuff out. And
sure.
then and at any point it takes, I don't know, about 5 days start to finish to build a boat. And it's and at any point I could mess something up badly enough that it's like, well, uh that one didn't work. And so it's like it just takes so much attention to detail. It's wild. But it's fun. We this is I think I did the last boat to come out of this shop was this one. And then actually my antics was like a later serial number. It was boat number 67 for us in the last 3 years. So that feels good to have
Okay.
gotten a lot of boats out. This one's for a guy named Eli up in Pennsylvania in the DC area. This one has like a bunch of old school kind of splatter all over it. Um, and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, and they're so fun, man. It's like I don't even own a plastic playboat anymore. They're just like it's so much fun to paddle one of these things.
So for someone who's never paddled carbon,
Yep.
explain the differences in feel. I mean, obviously they're lighter weight, which is great for like carrying to the river, but performance and the way it paddles and things like that.
Yeah, so the plastic boats are an awesome choice for most people. They if you are going to regularly be interacting with rocks, that is the right boat to get. I've had tons of people, not tons, but at least five who have messaged who were ready to buy boats, and and when they started telling me what they wanted to do with them, I was like, as much as I want to take your money, you need a plastic boat. Like I build these really strong. I think they're stronger than most of the others, but you need to, if you're going to be doing rock spins and splats, like you should just get a plastic boat. That's what they're made for. They're great for that.
Right.
But for
Yeah.
carbon composite, the advantage is like, let's say a plastic Rockstar weighs 32, 33 pounds. The carbon one weighs 20 or 21. And so
Mm,
it floats higher because the total weight of you plus the boat is less by
mm-hmm.
12 or 13 pounds. So the amount of air you can get when you're doing tricks is it reacts as though you lost that much weight, but it's just as easy to throw around because it's the same size. And because it's that much lighter and because the weight is in the boat itself, the weight loss, it moves 30% more every time you take a stroke or move your body in any direction because it's about 30% lighter. And so that
And
means that the boat just moves more every time you move. So the responsiveness is night and day. Like I can feel a difference the first three forward strokes in flat water. I can feel the difference in the carbon kayak versus the plastic kayak because the boat just moves that much farther.
sure. And isn't there also like some science and physics behind the fact that it's more rigid, where the plastic you get some cavitation, whether you're bouncing on a wave or just forward stroke or whatever, where the plastic's going to give, where the carbon is because it's more rigid, it's going to transition that power from your paddle or from the wave to the boat in a more efficient manner?
Yeah, without a doubt. And you feel that mostly on waves. And a good example would be like if I was on the Garburator wave on the Ottawa in a plastic, say, Rockstar. Most times I get to the top of the wave and bounce down the face. In a plastic boat, I get two bounces each of those passes before the boat loses its speed and then comes down. In the carbon boat, I get a full extra bounce, like a full, like it's like three bounces every pass because it's
Mm,
taking those hops and all of the impact is resisting it. And instead of like compressing and flexing and slowing the boat down, it is just bam, bam, bam. And it also means that the more force you put into those kind of impact takeoffs, that gets transferred directly into rebound. Whereas in the plastic boat, it's a little more like a shock absorber that like absorbs that
yeah, exactly.
impact and just kind of mushes out a little more. So it really is it's so it and it would be if anyone's ever paddled like a real nice lightweight paddle, like a carbon paddle versus like
Mm,
one of the old cheap heavy ones, like you can tell right
yeah.
away if it was 30% lighter, it would be mind blowing. And in the boat, it's like that times 10.
And if someone was interested in getting a Dreamboat kayak, talk us through the process. Obviously, they could go to your website, but the whole you were telling me before we started recording, I think it's really neat. Every one of those is a one-off. It's not like they're buying production carbon boats, mass-produced carbon boats. They're custom made for each individual, and people can put their own unique spin on it.
Yeah, it's really fun. So if you want a boat, you hit me a message or an email or whatever, and I'll send you a link to our order form. And on it there are images like silhouette images of like a rock star or an antics or clutch or whatever from above and from the side and from below, and you can download that, and then you can just draw whatever you want on it for graphics. And I send you the link to where I get my metal flake for the glitter as well. So you can just pick exactly which colors you want. And then you send that to me and you put in a deposit and that kind of stuff. And then I work with you to make sure that what you're looking to do in terms of graphics is going to work and it's going to look good. And I ask questions and make sure you end up with exactly what you want. But it's definitely fun figuring out the processes of how to take things out and how to just end up with a boat that looks really cool, especially when it's exactly like what someone has in mind. And sometimes I've been able to do the combinations of like taped out sprayed gel coat with some printed fiberglass inlaid graphics for really complex stuff. I made a boat for a guy in
Wow,
Colorado this year that had, if you look at our Instagram page, you can see it, that has like these Calvin and Hobbes cartoon characters,
I did
like
see that. Yeah.
printed and inlaid all over it with, like sprayed graphics kind of all around behind it. And so it's fun to be able to do like a combination of that kind of stuff. I did a boat for a guy up in Canada, a stakeout boat that was mostly clear carbon, but on the deck it had two big strips of like real tree camo because he's like a
Mm.
duck hunter in the fall and really into it. And so it's neat to be able to just do lots of different things. I can also do some people have gotten boats where I've added volume at the seam line, like made them a little bigger. So if you wanted sort of custom sizing, it's fun. And the
Yeah.
other reason for me it's really rewarding is that I work for Jackson Kayak, uh, and since the Antics 2, I kind of have led our design team meetings. And the
Mm.
design team over there is really fun. It's like Clay Wright, it's Dane Jackson, it's Nick Troutman, it's Emily, it's me, it's like Alec Voorhees, and then we get feedback from a lot of other people on our team and lots of other people, and so um, I feel a lot of ownership over all of the boats and these shapes. And just because I often lead the meetings doesn't mean that I get more say into what we end up with. Like I'm just good at keeping everyone on track. Like our group name is like herding cats because you can imagine trying to keep like Clay and Dane and Nick and Emily and Alec all just like focused. And
Right.
that's like that's that's the thing I'm actually good at. But by the
Mm.
time we get the boats, I feel great about them. And so being able to like work on the Antics 3 with that group and then with Tad Dennis, who did the design work for us on that one, and then paddle it in plastic and say, I just love this boat. It is so freaking fun. Like probably my all-time favorite kayak. And then have the ability to build the mold for it in carbon and now make myself one in carbon so that the performance level goes up even more. And
Right.
it's really rewarding because just being able to be involved with the boat, from the earliest stages all the way now to, it's in production in plastic, everyone seems to like it, and now you can get it as a carbon fiber boat too, for if you really want the ultimate performance. It's really neat. It's really cool.
That's awesome. And then giving back to the sport through a lot of different ways, but through keeners. I mean, it's got to be so rewarding and fun to, tons of your graduates who have learned under you and Clay and other instructors up at Keeners have gone on to be probably world champions in juniors and make U.S. teams and things. So talk to us about what Keeners is, your role there, and kind of that experience through the years.
So the Keener program is it's a high school kayak program up on the Ottawa River. It's run through Ottawa Kayak School Wilderness Tours. And I've been kind of the director and head coach for the last 20 years, or a little more than 20 years.
Mm,
And the kids come up, each session is 3 weeks long. So they're there for 3 weeks. And during that time, we focus hard on leadership, on just like kayak development, and on safety skills. So every kid who's there, for example, takes and gets certified for swiftwater rescue as well as wilderness
mm.
first aid. Um,
Wow.
and I tell every kid that comes, when like day one in the intro meeting, I'm going to give away the end of the book right now and tell you in 3 weeks' time, this is the secret. My secret evil plan is that all of you will have sort of achieved these three things. I want you to all be more stoked on kayaking than you've ever been. I want you to all be able to become leaders in whatever it is that you go on to do in life. And I want you all to be better human beings than you were when you got here.
Mm,
And so we've been fortunate to be able to have other great staff members working with us, like Anna Bruno, and Clay Wright and Nick and Dane. We also regularly have had like David Silk. We've had Luke Pomeroy, Benny Marr, Joel Kowalski. Over the years, guest instructors like Brent Orton and Billy Harris, and lots and lots and lots of really fun people. Tyler Curtis works with us almost every summer as well. Legends in the sport. And
yeah.
it's such the perfect river to run a program like that because it's freakishly safe and it's big and
Right.
exciting. And so we're able
Yep.
to really teach very aggressive skills, and kids stay safe and they're stoked. Um, and uh, and I love it because, like the story I told earlier, I feel like these kids are going to be able to help me out if I get into trouble, if I'm kayaking with them anytime. And I occasionally get to hear from them that they were involved in rescues, back paddling by themselves. And I love hearing that. I feel like it's really fun. And in 3 weeks, we just see such a difference in terms of not only the paddling skills, but they're doing community living, like they're living in small houses together. They have to like clean together, they have to do chores together, they have to cook their own breakfast together and some other meals. And so just like it's not quite like going and living in a dorm room for a full semester, but for a lot of these kids, they've
Mm-hmm.
never had to live with a bunch of other kids for that long before. So that the community living combined with a staff that's really focused on like trying to build positivity, causes kids to just experience the concept that they really impact everybody around them all the time, in a way that they just wouldn't at school. Because at school, you can often just go home at the end of the day and say, oh, yeah, that guy was mean to me, but, you know, I can just get away from him and my mom says I'm great, so it's not that big a deal. But at Keener's, like, if you're a jerk, you don't get away. And so you see real quick that like I have the power to make other people happy or I have the power to make other people miserable. And I've got people like Dane Jackson and Clay Wright and Steven Wright telling me that I better choose to use my powers for good instead of evil. Otherwise, they're going to like pull me off the water. So it's like, it's a really different game. And it's really fun to see, you know, who these kids become. And it's at a point in their lives where they're very malleable. And
Right.
they're very, and so I feel like we can make a real difference in who these kids become, and how they choose to enjoy life for, you know, for a lot of them for the rest of their lives. And I love it.
Sure.
It's awesome. It's so fun.
Yeah, I did two things similar to that. NOC used to run a program very similar that me and Pete Gallo led for a lot of years, and we had 2 weeks, and we was just like travel around the southeast. But I really love that concept of they get certified in swiftwater and first aid and things, and then I worked for Huge Experiences for 2 years where I just had the Huge Experience bus and traveling all through the West Coast. What I love about the Keeners though is you have one place to come back to at night, and you're not just hopping the bus and then drive through the night after you've been paddling all day.
Hmm. Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. It's straight
I
up
want
there.
Yeah, for sure. I want to shift gears now to flow advice. So, three people here. So, flow advice first for a beginner. What advice would you give to a beginner?
Advice to a beginner is find people to paddle with and try all the things that are hard. And just know that it's hard to get into the sport, but that it can be fun from the very beginning, even when you're not good. Like to beginners, I would say, don't worry about whether you look silly. Don't worry about if anyone is judging you. Um, that day one in a kayak can be the most fun day of your entire life if you're willing to say, I'm okay not being great at this. This is still awesome. And I would also encourage beginners to say, whatever kind of fun I like best is equally legitimate to whatever fun in a kayak that anyone else might think is best. And I'm going to decide right here and now that if I like it, I don't care if someone else tells me it's not cool. The goal here is to have fun, and I'm going to do whatever is most fun.
And then a person returning to the sport who used to paddle but took some time off and is now a little older and wants to get back into the sport in whatever capacity. What
It,
advice
it's,
would you have for that
it sounds
person?
like you might be describing someone on this podcast.
Well, yes, but I think since I've returned, what I've noticed is there's a lot of people who kind of fit my bill who, used to paddle in their 20s, got out of it for geography or jobs, and now they're like, you know what, life's a little easier now. I think I'm going to dust the kayak back off or get back in a new one. And it may not be aspirations of joining the freestyle tour or doing class 5. It may just be they want to go down the Ocoee on the weekend and have fun. But regardless of what their aspirations are, anybody returning to the sport who's a little older, what advice would you give? And yes, this is a personal question.
My advice is never stop learning. Don't be afraid to ask
Mm,
questions, and don't worry if you're not as good as you once were. It's easy to
because you're not going
think,
to be.
yeah, it's easy to think I used to be able to do this. Like things as simple as I used to be able to roll every time, and I never had issues with it. And then I step away from the sport for 15 years or whatever, and I come back, and all of a sudden I'm missing rolls and like occasionally swimming. Like, don't worry about that. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't stop working on skills and think I expected to be better than I am.
Mm.
And be willing to appreciate kind of the newer designs of kayaks and the newer
Mm-hmm.
things that are being done in kayaks as fun. Just because, it wasn't something that was popular when a person might have been doing this years ago, doesn't mean that there might not be a lot of joy that can be easily unlocked by just trying some of the newer stuff. Um, and and mostly just, I think, for both beginners and for that group, it's like, I would say, really just don't be afraid to work on what you're not good at. Like, that's the
Yeah,
ticket to getting better and having more fun is realizing that if all I do is what I can already do, then I will never do anything new. And so that the
I
only
love that.
way to like get better than you are is to fall on your face over and over again until you can actually, you know, do what you want.
Right. And now the Pucon Kayak Retreat Pro Flow Hot Tip. A person who's emerging in freestyle and they're like, really good paddler. Maybe they're the best paddler of their local area. They're starting to really get a lot of the tricks dialed in and they want to start competing. Maybe, I think freestyle is kind of having a renaissance now with some new tours and new events. They want to maybe try to go to the U.S. team trials. They want to take their freestyle paddling to the next level. What would be Steven Wright's Pucon Kayak Retreat Pro Flow hot tip for that?
My hot tip is to find people to paddle with that are better than you and that already do that. Like, figure out a way to go paddle with people who are already good at whatever it is you want to do and ask a lot of questions, because kayakers, especially the best kayakers, are really friendly, and
Mm-hmm.
are happy to help each other out. That's one of the things that makes our sport great, is just you can
Yes.
go up to Dane, you can go up to EJ, you can go up to anybody and say, "Man, I can't keep my loops straight. Like, what am I doing wrong?" And they will, without a doubt, tell you exactly what they're seeing and what you should work on to get better at that. But it's hard, especially if you want to compete. It's really hard to do well if you don't have other people to paddle with that are also focused on that. It's just really hard to
Mm-hmm.
know whether or not you're scoring anything, whether you're wasting your time working on something, whether there's other things you should be working on. So if that's a goal, that you really want to go hang out with people that do that. But the other thing, especially for people competing, I tell all the keeners this, is like, never let competitions define how you feel about your kayaking. Never say that the
Mm.
way, whether I do well in a competition defines whether or not I have fun with this sport. Um, Competition doesn't tell you who the better kayaker is, or even who the better playboater is. All it tells you
Mm.
is what happened one day when we all played a game together. And it's important with competing to be able to step back before the event and say, you know, getting ready for this event, I learned this new trick. And now every single time I go kayak, even apart from this competition, kayaking will be more fun because I learned this new trick, or this new
Mm-hmm.
skill, or whatever it is. And so
Yeah.
even if I fall apart during the competition, I'm really glad I did this because I get to keep those skills and take them with me, and kayaking can be more fun like every day of my life. And so I would say, for people who want to compete, and not everyone should, if you can't find joy in losing, then you shouldn't be doing this, because we all lose a lot. Um, you got to be able to just enjoy the whole process and be willing to say, even if I fall apart and totally bomb this thing, I can be glad I did it because this was fun.
And I said I think freestyle, but just play boating in general, I think is having a renaissance with the great new half slices that are really playful, or full slice boats, or people getting into ICF boats, whether they want to compete or not. Don't you agree that there's so much reward that comes from play boating? Number one, it's really really fun, but number two, I think it's the easiest way to fast track your kayaking because you're flipping, you're learning edge control. So I think being a good play boater makes you a better all around kayaker. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I think the renaissance, the return of half slice is huge for kayaking skills because I think the more people play with safe rocks and being vertical on their stern and like playing with eddy lines,
Mm-hmm.
just the more boat control people get, and the better people get at bossing their kayak around. And that pays off, kind of like I was
Yeah,
saying with squirt boating earlier. Like even if the goal is to go creek boating and stay upright, the skills you learn playing around with rocks in a half slice will keep you upright and keep you safe in a creek boat. And so
1000%.
people who play around a lot, no matter whether it's in a playboat or a half slice or whatever, those people tend to learn really fast, and they're just able to see the river as a playground, which is a really fun way to see it.
Absolutely. Well, Steven, are you ready to run some rapids with me?
Yeah, let's go do it, man. I'll be heading from here, leaving this weekend, probably going to Fayetteville, West Virginia, and then maybe be in DC a little bit. Eventually make my way to the Ottawa for the summer, and then back here to Columbus, Georgia. Well, I think we're going to go to the Gully for a month first for Gully season, and then back here. So come find me. Let's go play. I'm always looking for people to boat
Well, be,
with.
well, before we run real rapids, we got to run the proverbial rapids. This is our rapid fire section. This is where I
Okay,
throw
got
out a
it.
topic of kayaking,
Oh man.
and you got to give me your Mount Rushmore.
Oh, I'm stressed out. Like why? Rapid fire. It sounds tough.
It is, but you got to just you got to put the skirt on, and you got to give her here. So no
Okay, let's do
scouting.
it.
You got to just go.
Okay.
All right, your favorite rivers of all time.
Favorite rivers of all time. I would say Golly, Zambezi, Ottawa, Dinky Creek in California, and
Play spots of all time.
oof, the competition hole in Salida. I would say maybe minibus. Good wave here is pretty fun. Um, and anywhere there's a waiver hole, I'm going to be pretty stoked.
Love it. Kayak designs.
So best kayak designs. I think my all-time favorites are the Antics 3 and the Antics 2. I just freaking love those boats. They are so fun.
Very cool. Kayakers of all time.
Oof. Dane and EJ for sure. I've also really loved watching and paddling with like Andrew Holcomb. I paddle with Clay a
Mm,
lot. Like he's just great. And anyone who wants to go kayak with me and smile and be nice to me, I'm going to be stoked about.
awesome. Um, so the last question I have for you is called Final Flow. The river god has come down and they said, Steven, this is your last time to put on a spray skirt. But the good news is you get to be on any river with any boat and you get to pick your crew. Who do you got?
Oh my gosh. There's so many good ones. I could pick a great one for squirt boating. I could pick a great one for river running. I could pick a great one for creek boating. I could pick a great one for play boating. I would say the easiest choice right now, because I'm getting ready to go to West Virginia, so I'm pretty West Virginia focused, would be I would be on the upper gully in an Antics. I'd be paddling with Clay and Dane and Nick and Mason and anyone else I can think of who wants to get weird with rocks. And I would be getting weird with rocks all day long and just having the time of my life. If it wasn't that, I would go back in time to like 2010 before the dams went up on the Nile, and it would
Mm,
be I would be on the Nile in a one of my carbon rock stars, paddling, running that river and paddling Nile Special every day with all my best playboating buddies. They'd be really, really hard to beat.
Very cool. Well, Steven, thanks for being on B-Flow Sessions. Thanks for everything you do for the sport, from giving back through instruction to creating those beautiful works of art that are high-performance machines at Dreamboat Kayaks, to just having that awesome smile and stoke when people see you in the eddy. Just thank you so much for what you've meant to the sport and continued friendship.
Thanks for all you're doing, buddy. This podcast is awesome. Thanks for doing that.
I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon and hopefully getting the paddle again.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks again. Then everybody, thanks for listening to B-Flow Sessions.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of B-Flow Sessions, where we explore how paddlers find their flow on the water and in life. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show, leave a rating, or share it with a friend. It truly helps us grow the community. And a huge thank you to Pucon Kayak Retreat for sponsoring today's episode. If you're ready for a world-class Chilean whitewater adventure, email me at bflowkayak@gmail.com and I'll help you get dialed in. Until next time, keep finding your flow.